Well, hello again from the bright yellow couch here at Lazy Pickle Studios. Yes, that means it's another episode where I welcome a guest on Waterproof Records, and I am super excited to welcome on the show today Ian Shelton. Ian is the primary songwriter, creator, musician all around that started the band Militarie Gun back in 2020. And since then, they have released multiple EPs, a full-length album, and another one is on the horizon. They are an incredible band I've been lucky enough to see play live. Great energy. The crowd gets super into it. And since then, I've had a chance to talk with Ian a couple times in person. So I was so grateful when he decided to come on Waterproof Records to talk about what's next for the band and his inspirations and what got him into music and the journey that led him to where we are today. So let's not waste time. Let's get down to it. It's time to talk to Ian Shelton from Militarie Gun. Let's go.
Things are gonna change. I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna...
Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records with Jacob Gibbons.
Of course, you know I got to tell you about DistroKid before I welcome on the guest. DistroKid is a way you can save 30% off of your streaming music. If you use my link, distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof, you get 30% off your first year. So make sure you're clicking on that. It's in the description of the YouTube video, and I link it elsewhere. If you're going to be putting your music out in the world, if you're going to be putting it on YouTube and Spotify and Apple, wherever else, you use DistroKid and you get 30% off your first year. It's a pretty good deal. So distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. It's time to welcome my guest. Who's this cool dude on my couch here? It's Ian Shelton, Militarie Gun on Waterproof Records. Welcome, sir.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
For those only listening to the show, Ian has shown up wearing a sweet-ass suit and sunglasses.
A very cheap suit.
Oh, no. It's, you know.
It's this from Kohl's, baby.
You can't put a price tag on class.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. If I don't even know if it reads on camera, but you know, I got it safety pinned up because I got short little legs, so I'm very bootleg. I need to get the sleeves hemmed. You know,
man, I get it.
You know, I'm just a cheap suit guy right now.
I'm a man
in a cheap suit.
I'm a man in my 40s, and all of my suits that I own are budget cheap. I've never been one to be like, if I'm gonna look, you know, like a guy wearing a suit, I'm not gonna spend a fortune on it.
My thing is that now I want to. It feels good, you know. It feels really good. I'm not gonna like start wearing one all the time, but I'm gonna start wearing one occasionally. I think,
yeah,
you know.
Okay.
But eventually I'm gonna have to invest in a nice suit and not Kohl's.
Yeah.
Something not from Kohl's.
Well, I have a buddy, one of my close friends. We joke that suits actually are male lingerie.
Oh yeah.
Because like you can't really get a guy in skimpy clothes and it's sexy, but if you put him in a suit, that's like when we walk around the world.
Yeah.
It's like definitely a look that people are like, oh my.
Yeah, you're like,
so
oh.
Male lingerie.
Yeah. Well, men are so low effort and just losers. So when you put a suit on them, they're like, Maybe not all men are losers. I don't know.
Maybe this guy has a bed with an actual frame.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a mattress on the floor.
Hey, I don't even own a bed right now, at all.
There's no shame. There's no way you could own a bed because you're the busiest guy I know. You're constantly releasing music. And he's also wearing sunglasses, which I came prepared because my last guests on the show, the Dooms, they all three had sunglasses. So I wanted to at least be able to match.
Yeah,
I had to join I won't be able to leave them on for long, but I want to at least have them on for a second.
Yeah.
So Ian Shelton, Militarie Gun, also bands like Regional Justice Center and more. You have a lot of.
I've been in a couple few. Filled in for a lot of bands.
Yeah.
I've been around.
Yeah.
Couple tours.
Two tree bands.
Yeah.
Well, I got to meet you from your current project or one that you've been working on a lot, which is Militarie Gun, and got a chance to see you last year live. And what was fun was I'm approaching the venue, and you're out front with the band, and I like look over, and you see me, and I see you, and you're like, "Hey, I like your videos." And I'm like,
yeah.
I like your band," and that was our introduction.
It was a cool moment. I find because I love watching shit on TikTok.
Yeah.
I run into people who come to our shows that are from it, and they're always seem very surprised.
Yeah.
Because I try to be very like, what's up? I like your stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that generally people are like, what? Like,
Yeah.
They think it's weird that I know what they're doing.
Like
But-
silly TikTok videos about 90s music.
Yeah, but what do we love? 90s music.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
It's cool. It is. I have a lot of complaints about the way that music is ingested now, because it's almost never purely like I think inside baseball has been like ruining what's cool about music. Everyone thinks that they could talk business.
100%.
And what's cool about your videos is you try to tap into what the first time you hear something.
Right.
And then that is an amazing feeling. And so like your videos are from such a great perspective of the excitement of being a fan of music. And that is how I try to approach music in general. Like I do this because I'm a fan and I'm a nerd for it.
Yeah.
And you do that. And so it was like instantly I felt like kinship with your stuff, and being able to see you at the show and be like, oh, this person likes my band. Like that's pretty cool to me. So yeah.
I heard of you guys, heard that first album, and really just responded to it. And I think it was the first video where you're all in white, and it's the ooh.
Do it faster video.
Yeah, do it faster. Yeah. And I was like, that's kind of my starting point when I talk to people, when I'm like, oh, you don't know Militarie Gun? I always bring up that video first, because there's just something, and you can see it when you see you guys live. The crowd really responds to that.
Yeah.
That's one of those moments in songs, when people put something in a song that the crowd feels like, this is my part.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
this is crowd participation.
Them,
yeah. And the use of the word stooge, just not enough people are using the word stooge.
Yeah, it's funny. I think about the lyrics to that song, and I'm like, there's a lot of songs that try to cut to the emotional core of something, and that's not one. That one is like me being like, you've wasted my goddamn time. And I'm a very impatient person. I'm a very early person. You've noted my promptness, which I said, like I would have been here even earlier had I not needed a steamer for the suit.
He was early. He was not only on time, he was way before.
And so that's my motto. I have it tattooed on me. Do it faster.
You have do it faster tattooed on you?
I think literally what it was a result of was I think we were shooting a music video, and someone was like floating all of these hypothetical things to me, like this. And I was like, I don't care what you do. Just do it faster. And then I was like, write that down.
Write that down. And do it faster. And because you're a filmmaker as well, and in this industry, you very quickly on sets realize that things get bogged down
and you
with
lose the
minutia.
day. You lose the day really fast.
Yeah, you're chasing time. You're trying to make sure that everything's valuable and you're getting the shots that you need. But then when you have more and more people involved, things slow down. You got to do new setups. I mean, thankfully, we're not in the age of film anymore and things are digital. But I'm old enough to remember 35 millimeter movie shoots that are literally like the setups and the moves. And
yeah, it's brutal.
So, yeah.
But there's magic in shooting on film, just in the way of like the seriousness of when you hear the camera roll, it's game on. There's no
100%.
There's no messing around once you hear the crank. You're like, all right,
it's go time.
There's money literally burning in front of our eyes.
Get the take.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into kind of Militarie Gun and all the projects you've been working on, because there's a lot of exciting things going on right now that we can get into, the new record and some of the EPs and the collaborations you've worked on. But I was going to say, let's kick things off with the Waterproof record. Let's talk about, let's go back to young Ian Shelton and those albums that really do kind of flip the switch for you. And what were your selections? You had one or possibly two.
Well, one. I'll do one because
okay.
But the first record that was my own was Blink-182's "Enema of the State."
Yes.
I think that it was hard to pick between that or take Off Your Pants and Jacket, because Take Off Your Pants and Jacket was like the first record that I was there for when it was released.
Right.
Like that was the first one where it's like I need to get to the Target or whatever, Kmart, to buy that album as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit more edge to Take Off Your Pants and Jacket in a weird way. Like
absolutely.
It's a little bit more racy, like songs like Reckless Abandon. And, you're such a young kid and he's like, fuck the chick in a parking lot. And you're like,
totally.
Like my parents can't hear this. And there's some of that. There is that on.
And they specifically did that. Like you see in interviews, they're writing some of the songs just to piss off parents.
Yeah. Well, and then you have songs like, When You Fucked Grandpa.
Right.
That are really disturbing.
Blink.
it's a very, I mean, it's a very lowbrow band, and it's awesome
in the best way.
I just bought Mark Hoppus's book the other day. So I mean, it's like one of those things where like as you get older and are more concerned with like what's cool and whatnot, you try to write it off. But at the end of the day, like for people my age, you know, Enema of the State was Nevermind. It was a thing that defined every kid of that era that liked guitars.
Yeah.
And, you know, Green Day was kind of aging up at that point. It's pre-American Idiot. And you know, they're at the time of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, they're releasing a B-sides collection. I had International Super Hits and I had Dookie, but and that was like an all-consuming force as well. But Enema was the thing, and you know, it was the videos of making, you know, the All the Small Things video and What's My Age Again.
Yeah. You
see that and you're like, this is crazy and it's goofy and it feels like what me and my friends are joking about as like, I think I was probably I was in second grade when I saw All the Small Things video. Yeah. And then third grade was like when it clicked and I was like, I need this CD. And then I got to see them when I was in fourth grade. Wow. And I saw them, I think it was 2 or 3 days before 9/11. And I was literally wearing a shirt that just said, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket in bold yellow print as I watched the towers burning.
Wow. Nothing like a great masturbation joke album title while tragedy.
I remember there was a kid at school that snitched on me where he was like, that means take off your pants and jack off. And I was like, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. And
it's an album.
It did mean that.
Yeah, of course.
But I was trying to get away with wearing the shirt at school. So
yeah. Well, you touched on something important, which is the window of music and kind of being impactful to a group of young people are these like 5, 6, 7 year windows, and then they kind of shift again. Like referring to this as a Nevermind is a good example, because for me now Ian's younger than I am, and I'm okay with that.
I hope you can tell on camera.
Yeah, no, impossible. And in voice alone, we sound like we're just a year apart. But you know this already, but Blink-182 and Enema of the State was like a breath of fresh air and the saving grace for us who were getting older, watching MTV and seeing it taken over by boy bands and
you see
pop
the
superstars.
Thing, like, All the Small Things, and you're like,
they're making fun of it, right?
Yeah.
Right. Which I just found out recently that Mark Hoppus, like when that idea was pitched to him, he did not like it because he wasn't aware of what those groups were doing and what the videos were. But and then they're running naked in the other one. It was really, you turn on MTV, and at the time I'm in college. And I'm already like trying to be so like I moved trying to be so cool. But you would turn on MTV and it was just flooded with all the pop stars and you know that scene and of course there was the new metal as well. But you just saw this sense of humor and it was you know sophomoric. No, I thought it was I thought it was cool. I didn't think it was lame at all.
See, to me, I can't imagine college kids getting it. It feels so high school centric in a way, which I think was a thing in general of everything being high school centric. But I always have wondered about like kids in their 20s, of what they were thinking of this thing. And I know a lot of people who love 90s music think that Blink is lame. But
not this guy.
Okay, good.
Not this guy. And I think that it wasn't like taking over me emotionally, and I don't think that's what Blink-182 does. Yeah. That's not what it was. But it was actually Adam's song, Stay Together for the Kids.
Yeah.
Those songs actually are my favorite.
Yeah, I think they're my favorite.
They're my favorite. Like when they get into the feels and that really heavy shit, that was always the moment where I was like, this is the thing about this band that I love. The playful side, I did like it because we needed it. Yeah. We needed it at the time.
Music needed
it. And you know, he referred to things in songs like when you're 23. Yeah. And I was closing.
I'm 23.
I was like, I'm closing in on this age. And on Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, you know, that also to what you said is here's Enema of the State. It blows them up and it's huge. And then by the time we get to that album, they're established. They're now the dominating force in that pop punk scene. But I think what else I think is interesting is, so when I met Ian, I just knew him as the lead singer of Military Gun. I didn't know that he was a drummer and that he had extensive drumming chops until I went to see you play with Regional Justice Center. And I was like, he's a fucking great drummer. And it makes sense why not only would this have arrived in your lap, you know, at an age where you were like, this was a very important record to you, but as a drummer.
So I would say that Travis Barker has no influence on me.
Really?
Like zero.
Okay, so that's good for me to know because I'm not a drummer, but I see Travis Barker's playing, and I would assume anybody who's a good drummer would be like, well, that guy's a great drummer.
He is a great drummer. And I came to drums late. So like at the point of me getting into drums, I was already like Blink-182's lame. You know, like
yeah, you were already like, I can't
era.
like that anymore. But now you've gone full circle and now you love it again.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it came on, I always loved it. And,
yeah.
But sometimes, you know, Travis could be described as a drummer loading a dishwasher. And I don't find that to be too inaccurate. It's like so busy in a way, like, which is crazy because it kind of breaks a lot of the rules that I have in my own mind about what makes a song catchy. And he gets there even with all of this busy, crazy drumming. But for the most part, for me, like I would never put a part in a song that would remind me of Travis Barker.
Okay.
Just in my writing.
Sure.
You know?
Sure. So for the audience that doesn't know, Regional Justice Center is heavy.
It's a blast beat.
Band, yeah. And it's
minute-long song.
Very different from what you're doing with Military Gun.
Yeah.
And it was a project that existed long before. And so you didn't start playing drums until you were in teens?
Like high school, yeah.
High school age?
Yeah. I was a bass player first, and then I got drums when I was in high school. And I got it because I just realized that we always needed a drummer. And I found a lot of drummers to be really punishing people. Like I just didn't really like drummers' personalities.
Watch out, drummers.
Like all the drummers I knew were big show offs, like similar to the Travis Barker style thing. And I don't know what it was, but I found the drummer, like kids that were good at drums in high school had really big egos. I don't know what it was like with the people that I had interacted with, but they had egos. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. You could play drums. Cool. And you know, I bought it because I wanted to drum and sing in exactly the style band that Regional Justice Center is.
Yeah.
So all of my first times playing drums was literally like learning a blast beat and then trying to figure out how to yell on top of it.
Yeah, and this is in the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yeah.
Washington.
I'm from a town called Enumclaw, Washington.
Yeah, I thought so. And so that's interesting because drummers were few and far between growing up. It was like you could throw something and hit a guitarist. They were everywhere. Yeah. So I don't know if you experienced that as well as like everybody plays guitar.
Small town. It was like no one wanted to play the style of music that I wanted to play. So me and my friend from a city called Puyallup, him and I started a 2-piece band where I drummed and sang and he'd play guitar and sang, and that was what we did.
Well, this seems to really set up how you've operated, which is you have an idea and so you'll make it happen in one way or the other.
By any means necessary.
By any means necessary.
Yeah.
So that being your waterproof record, Enema of the State, did it push you into songwriting and wanting to become a musician?
Oh yeah, I wanted to be in a band so bad. It was all I dreamed about was like how to start a band and go on tour. You know, like there was a DVD there's 2 DVDs that I got that were Blink DVDs, and I missed the era of the concert DVD or the tour documentary DVD. Like
those were good days.
That I had so many, you know, like Slipknot Disaster Pieces. There was a Sum 41 one that I had, and then there was the Blink ones, which was Riding in Vans with Boys, which was the story of this band Cut You Up that came and played the parking lot on all of the Blink shows, and that was friends with them, and they were backstage and stuff, but they weren't playing on the main stage of the tour.
I never knew this.
The DVD is awesome. It's hilarious. It's all dick jokes. It's all very immature in the Blink-182 fashion. Yeah. But, you know, you kind of get this a little bit more voyeuristic view of Blink-182 because you're in the eyes of the opening band. But in that, you know, you see the process of touring. You are seeing a band in a van drive city to city and argue with each other and get too drunk and be idiots.
Yeah.
Of like what anyone would do in that situation.
Wow.
And Green Day was on the tour, and I went to that tour. It was the Pop Disaster tour. It was Jimmy Eat World, Green Day, Blink-182.
Gotcha.
And so that was, I got the DVDs and I got the Urethra Chronicles 2. I've still never seen the Urethra Chronicles 1. I want to watch it.
Nice.
I should have watched it before this because I think
should
that
have
was the
studied.
touring. That was the touring off of Enema. Is that DVD?
Got it.
But yeah, and so it just was kind of this all-consuming force. Like Blink-182, it was just my favorite band, and it was everything. And so I used to watch concert DVDs and like hold my bass and jump and play the songs. Like I didn't know how to play the songs. I didn't learn how to play the songs. I just was like, basically air guitaring with a real guitar.
Yeah.
In my hands.
Totally.
And dreaming of my bed that I was jumping on being a stage.
Yeah. I did that with, I had a buddy named Brian, and we would watch Metallica's Live Binge Shit and Purge.
Oh, nice.
And then we would watch the videos for Megadeth's Hangar 18.
Oh,
and we would sit there in front of the TV with our guitars, and we would just like fantasize about just like fucking shredding to these songs on there, which I mean, I never got to that skill level, but I did the same thing watching live concerts and thinking one day I want to do that for sure.
Yeah. It's like when you come home from school and you just channel it all into like a fake live performance.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Felt great at the time. And then the idea that I get to do it now is really crazy to me. I've been trying to step back and appreciate, especially like, now we've interacted with Blink, you know?
Yeah,
like
right.
Tom told us that he listens to us before going on stage. Like,
that's amazing.
To have that be a thing now is just like, what more could I do for my inner child?
Right.
There's nothing left, I don't think.
Yeah, to have that happen. Well, that's a perfect transition into where we are today. Military Gun. Tom DeLonge listens to Military Gun, so why aren't you? This is a project that emerges in 2020 during the pandemic. And the previous guests, their project emerged during the pandemic. I remember saying to people when we were going into COVID lockdown, I was like, the world may be fucked right now, but amazing bands are forming as we speak.
Yeah, well, I was lucky because I just have the ability to demo on my iPhone, and that was all I was doing. Like every original Military Gun demo was just me going to the practice space by myself because we weren't allowed to interact with others, and just trying to make a song front to back in one sitting.
Wow. And
that was the process, and I didn't know how to sing, and there was a song Dislocate Me that we had on our demo, and I had like auto-tune on my iPhone in GarageBand, and I had it set to the wrong key, and I kept being like, I swear I'm singing this right, but it keeps sounding wrong, and I just didn't realize that the auto-tune was the wrong key. But you know, there's like so many lessons learned.
You were like Cher in there with the Believe
auto-tune. I just had that time.
Yeah.
The time to just make things. And when the stimulus and the unemployment hit, it was me treating it as if I just got a label advance to make a record. And so like all I did was that. And then by the time it came around to like all of that running out, we were recording what was supposed to be our first record, All Roads Lead to the Gun. And I literally started a weed job that I got paid cash, and I worked like 50 hours the first week, and I got paid in cash. And I literally took that cash wad to the studio and handed it to the studio as the payment for
the time
for the renting that studio.
Wow. And that was for Life Under the Gun?
That was All Roads Lead to the Gun.
All Roads Lead to the Gun.
Which ended up turning into 2 EPs, and then we kind of compiled it into a thing later that it would be more like our 13 songs. Yeah.
So when Military Gun begins, it's kind of you on your own, and then you're enlisting some other great musicians that you worked with before. I know you and Waylon go way back and had been in projects together, right?
Well, the original lineup of the band, the original members that are left is me and William Acuna, who's the guitar player.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like everyone was in a place of suspended reality. And so I had asked these people that all had other projects.
Right.
And so those guys, you know, they gave us so much of their time once real life came back and touring started happening. But for the most part, it was an unsustainable thing because they were in the bands Modern Color and Drug Church as well. And it just was like our tour schedules were never going to work together.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, we kept having fill-ins, and then kind of permeated this idea of like nobody knows who's in the band. And we really now are trying to be like the band.
This is the band.
Like this is hopefully going to be the band forever.
That's good. That's good. Well, and you've not only had, so Life Under the Gun is 2023, June of 2023. And since then, there's been more EPs, Life Under the Sun, collaborations with some really cool bands that I love. Manchester Orchestra, Mannequin Pussy, who are just outstanding. Bully, what's such a cool idea. How did that come about to do this kind of like slowed down alternate takes of some of these songs from the album?
Just always wanted to do it. Like I've a huge part of starting Militarie Gun was trying to figure out how to sing and how to use my voice in a new way that I've always been so afraid of. Mm-hmm. And it got to a point where everything I wanted to say was boiling up, and I couldn't say those similar, like I couldn't say nuanced things in the format of a Regional Justice Center song.
Right.
And it just felt like the time to do it. And so every step of the way is about me trying to expand my own parameters and stretch my comfortability to the next thing that feels dangerous to me, which oftentimes like people probably think it doesn't seem dangerous to them because like, yeah, you're singing softly. But to me, that feels dangerous because I come from a world of people really that are low effort. Like being cool, like cool guy stuff is usually low effort.
Right.
Like nobody, like if someone sees you sweat, it's not cool. Right. And so I'm sweating constantly, and I'm not afraid for people to see it, and I'm not afraid of being perceived as being uncool.
Yeah. And
because I care about like trying to figure out how to unlock the next thing that makes me really excited. And I've always, loved things like Bright Eyes and
Connor.
I went through a really big Elliott Smith phase.
Love him.
Because of my friend Bobby the Hacks and Cloak. He was like, listen to Adeline. That was the song that cracked Elliott Smith for me. And it just was like, all right, now's the time to kind of really experiment with trying to use my voice in a new way. Yeah. Because I knew it was going to be a long time before we had another record. And I also want to make new sounds in this new record. And so I wanted to kind of I always try to leave a breadcrumb trail of where the steps that it takes to get to a sound, because inevitably people are going to say that's different than what you've done, but I want it to be a development, not a change. Oh wow. And so like we just dropped the song Tall People Don't Live Long with our friend Daisy. Yeah. And that was an evolution of this song Pressure Cooker that came out, and we wrote it literally on the tail of Pressure Cooker coming out. Like we wrote this song 3 years ago, and to us, it's not a new thing. It's not a new rapid transformation. It's been this slow simmering thing in the background, and it was about laying a breadcrumb trail to people realizing what this song could be. And I'm sure people will be like, that's really different. But it's also a standalone thing. We kind of view Daisy Militarie Gun to be its own project. Yeah. Versus it's kind of its own band. Yeah. And it just happens we don't want it to be not seen, so we don't want to start a new band. Yeah. But, we wrote a whole album together. With Daisy. And whether or not that album will ever see the light of day is to be seen. Yeah. But for us, it's its own project, and so we could do whatever we want. And it's just about breaking down your own walls to say, oh, this can be whatever we want it to be. And that is why this guy is in a suit and glasses, because you're going to see a video and looking sharp as ever with Daisy. Yeah. We just did a video. We shot it in Richmond, Virginia, and we were just like, let's not plan anything. It was great. Let's go in with just like, we know it's going to be black and white, and we're going to wear suits. Yeah. And we ended up like stumbling upon some really cool things to do for the video. But it was just like, let's just go in Beastie Boys style, unplanned, and just make a video. And that's what we did.
Shot on 70 millimeter IMAX.
Shot
you want to
on
hear
a-
that shutter going?
Shot on a Sony FS7.
Yeah, I was gonna say
As digital as it gets.
It was great. It looked like a Jim Jarmusch film. It was great. It was fucking great. The new Military Gun album is done in studio recording.
It's been we're mixing it right now.
Yeah.
So we're not too much to report there because there's not
We can't say anything
there's
yet
not anything to
to report, but there will be some new music coming from you soon. And then I was excited right before we started this interview because I was like, oh, he's about to go on the road with high vis and pissed jeans. And right before the show began, you broke the news to me.
Tour's canceled.
God.
Yeah, there was an emergency health thing in High Vis's camp, and it just made it so that the tour could not go on.
Yeah.
It's a bummer. It's all the love and respect sent out to them, hoping that
Yeah, for sure.
whatever wounds there are healed soon. But yeah, now we're just we're home. We're unemployed.
Well, that means we can hang out more.
Yeah, we'll hang out. But now we just. The good thing is we have time to get the record right.
Yeah.
We're working on art. We're working on music videos. But
Yeah.
we wanted to do. I wanted to go up in the suit on stage.
I know. That would have been great.
I wanted to like.
Was that going to be the thing for the high vis tour?
No, I wanted to do it like twice.
Twice,
I
okay.
wanted to do it like twice on the tour, not because I don't want to be the suit. We're not the 1975. I do love the 1975,
Sure.
but we're not them, and it's not like this is some drastic thing. I just we did it, and we just want to keep in the spirit of the song and the vibe as we're rolling it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when I mentioned earlier, I went to go see, or maybe I didn't. I went to go see Ian play with Regional Justice Center because we had talked and saw Military Gun. He told me about this other project, which I wasn't familiar with. So I go to, what venue were we at?
We played the Belasco. We were opening for Orchid.
That's right.
Orchid, Jerome's Dream, and Bastard Noise. An absolutely psychotic lineup.
Yeah, psychotic lineup. And so I cruised by. That night, I only had a chance to come see Regional Justice Center play. And what was fun was I'm standing there at the Belasco. I'm like really close up. They're the first band going on. And I'm stoked to see Ian play drums. I'm standing there ready for everything to begin. And I don't realize like, oh shit, it's about to go off down here with the pit. And then in 30 seconds, I'm like, I have to get out of here. I have to get out of here immediately. Cause like there are kicks and arms and bodies flailing.
It's
and
definitely very different.
when I was a younger man, maybe I could have hung out. I don't know. But I got out of there immediately. I go off to the side and I'm standing there and I'm watching you play. Really, really killer drummer. Band is heavy, very intense energy. And it's your brother up there on stage.
sings.
His brother's a vocalist. And they're giving all this energy. And I hear to my right, I hear a couple guys standing right next to me. And Ian's he's drumming and he gets on the mic and he just starts screaming like really, really loud vocals like this. And these guys and they're like, Ian, come on, man. Like your voice, this is like genuine concern for like, is he going to thrash his vocal cords? And I turn to my right and I'm like, those are the other dudes from Military Gun. Like these are the other band members. They're worried about him like blowing out his vocal cords before they go play or something.
Well, so the thing was that literally I left recording to go play that show.
Right.
So it was a thing where in the past I've had bad vocal health and it's been a long process to get better. And I really have. And I literally...
This is a safe space. You can talk about your vocal recovery.
I just have talked about it too much. And it's like, I don't want people to think they're going to come to a show and see me.
No, actually, he's fine. He can actually scream and do really, like, I've seen him play. You can hold it.
So we were in the middle of recording the record. And so they were concerned that I was going to blow my voice out and not be able to see through the record. But it was fine. I went into that show saying that I wasn't going to sing at all. And then I was like, I gotta. It's like this thing that I could not.
I get it.
I could not.
You were caught up in the adrenaline, and that's what that band is. It's like pure adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but no, I tell it just to be fun because it was like the way I've met the other members of the band have been in these little pieces, So I talk to them there. And I don't talk to them there. I notice that they're in Military Gun, but I don't say anything. I'm like, I'm not going to interrupt. He's in the middle of the show. So I go to this event afterwards, and I'm wearing the shirt that I bought at the event. This is the T-shirt maker here, Med Syndicate.
Yeah.
This is a combination for those of you who are only listening. I'm wearing my shirt that has the heavy doom metal band Sleep, their logo at the bottom, but then it's got the Sleepy Time bear, and I love this, so I thought I would wear it since I bought it that night. So I go to this after event Meth Syndicate thing, and then the members of Military Gun show up there, and I'm like, I was just standing next to you guys over the show.
That's awesome.
And then a couple weeks later, I'm going to see my buddy John play with Spitalfield, and you meet yet another. So I've met almost everybody in the project, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's probably the only person you haven't met is our drummer.
I think so. Yeah, that's it. But you know, on a more serious note, one of the things that kind of leads to Military Gun is not only the lockdown, but you were in Regional Justice Center, and then your brother has to go away, get locked up. Yeah.
That was a band that started somewhat as a tribute to my brother. You know, the background was I was in a really creatively unfulfilling time of my life. I was playing drums for a lot of people's bands, and I didn't feel like I was really ever expressing myself. And so I was like, I'm gonna start a band. My brother gets locked up, and I'm spending a lot of time at Regional Justice Center in Kent, Washington, going to visit him. Mm-hmm. And it just, you know, it was like that was the place that everything was existing in creatively was, you know, it cast a heavy shadow all over everything in my life. And so it ended up being that I was like, Regional Justice Center sounds like a crazy name for a band.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, well, you know, I'm going to do something that's kind of a reference to my brother, a tribute to my brother. And I never anticipated it going as far as it did, but I'm like a crazy person that can't do anything casually.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, the band started it, and I just thought I was going to do a demo and be done. And then I kept making more and more music, and then it just kind of kept like, then I started integrating him into the band of like the jail phone calls on the records. And then it just kind of ended up being like, oh, I want to make something that's a tool for him as well. Like I wanted him to come out and realize that the world hadn't forgotten him.
Yeah.
And now it's amazing because he gets to sing for the band, you know, like we made this thing together, and he didn't even realize what it was until he got out, and he was like, oh wait, people like actually listen to this. You know, he was used to the high school version of me that was just making bands that nobody would ever hear. And then he got out, and he was like, oh, this is like a real thing. And then we built it up and made a record together, and then started playing shows. And, you know, yesterday was his 27th birthday. And, you know, he played his first show last year, and you know, I'm just so proud of him, and I'm very honored that, you know, not many people get second chances in life, and specifically with our background, it's like, you know, we weren't meant to thrive, and I see him thriving, and it just feels great to have seen through the premise of the band, and for him to care about it so much, you know? Yeah. Yesterday I got to see him, like, he got a record player for Christmas, and he hadn't put it into use yet. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he had a little birthday party get together at his house, and he put our vinyl on the turntable, and he got to have the time-honored tradition of actually having the wrong RPMs. Yes, I love that. So he got to hear the doom metal version of RJC, and he was laughing, and
I love it.
It was cool to be there for that, and to be there as he's putting, you know, his first vinyl of himself on the turntable. Like, that's a cool moment, man. Yeah. I remember the getting to do that myself, and how special it felt. Yeah. I got to see Max, is your brother's name. Max. I got to see Max on stage, and it is remarkable to see how much had changed since the time that he went away until the time he came out, and to go away and come out and stand on stage and be like, oh shit, you really built something here. Yeah. But on top of that, you talked about the vulnerability and cool guys, you know. I'm anti-cool guy. Yeah. I am too. I mean, I think that you can see a little bit from what I put out there. I'm a little anti-cool guy as well, in that none of this should be gatekeepy. None of it should be like, what is the cool music? I love music, but I think that it was important in a way for a Regional Justice Center to really push you to have that dark cloud, that thing that gets it out,
that then leads you to being so much more vulnerable vocally with Military Gun.
Well, and at the start of RJC, I said it was my goal to get comfortable, like being the center of a band, because I'd been a drummer for so long. And I felt like I was so neutered by the cool guy shit when I was a kid. You know, like there's all these cool guy punks, and they're not expressing anything. They're participating in tradition.
Yeah.
Over trying to truly say something unique or vulnerable. And again, you know, it's about seeing you sweat. And I feel like I didn't grow up around anyone who was sweating. It was people who were kind of doing the in the box approach to things. There were some bands that I think were very creative that I love, but it was just very rarely did I walk away feeling like I emotionally connected to my peers.
Yeah.
And so it was, RJC started, I was like, well, I'm a fucked up kid and I want to make something for fucked up kids. I want to reach people that are not in the scene. I don't want to make something that's for like the community. I want to make it for just anyone who's fucked up in the head.
Yeah.
And then that led to Military Gun. You know, like the thing about Tall People Don't Live Long is like, you know, we're doing like a baggy track, you know, but we're here talking about Blink-182. Yeah. And I like the destroying of the lines in that way.
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
Like baggy is this really hip genre, and then we're like, nah, like guess what, dorks can do it too, and we're gonna do it good.
Wow.
And that's like what we're gonna do.
And that's why we're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you see now that is sweating that you like in terms of bands or people that you are interacting with that you're like, yes, finally?
I still see very few people sweat. Like my big complaint is that it seems like bands make albums just to go back out on tour. They're not making albums because they need to say something or that they are so moved by music that they're writing a record. It's more so just like, dang it. Okay, our business has to stop. We have to write a record in a month. We're going to rent an Airbnb and go write a record. And you're like, okay. You know, like it's not, I'm writing songs every day, you know,
because
like,
you have to.
Because I have to. It's like what it feels like I have to do. It nags at me if I don't. And so, yeah, very few people I see sweating. I mean, it doesn't mean they don't make records that I like.
Right, sure.
They can
not sweat and still make good tunes.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is like some people, like it's like, yeah, you don't need to sweat and you can just do it. That's cool. I just resent the like in the box approach of like, I hate tradition in that way of it's a predetermined outcome.
Sure.
You know, like it already exists in a box. And so I try to like break the box as often as I can, as often as genuine. Yeah. I'm trying to think of people that I like to see sweat. You know, like my buddy David does a band or did a band called Culture Abuse. And he's someone who is sweating behind closed doors. You know, he's someone who hasn't released music in years, but he has like albums worth of songs that are all amazing. And now I'm trying to get in the weeds with him and make some songs to see through his vision on stuff and put his music back out into the world. And that feels really great. You know, Justice from Angel Dust and Trapped Under Ice, like he is truly a sweater as well.
I like this new term.
Yeah, I hadn't come up with it. I hadn't come up with it before this, so I don't know how bad it is.
No, I like it. I like the idea of a sweater.
You know, he's someone who's always writing, always creating, always trying to unlock something. It's just like, you know, like it's the type of thing. There's people who are curious. Yeah. And curiosity and being a fan of music is, I think, the defining factor of what can make like classic records. Sure. And I just don't think people are even trying to make classic records. I think people are trying to get back out on tour and make money.
Yeah, I think it's fair. But I think that what you're doing is special. I think it's important. I'm excited to see what the new record sounds like. And even though High Vis tour isn't happening, I'm hoping that there will still be some opportunity. You guys tend to jump on some, whether it's a festival or a show here and there. I'm hoping there will be some opportunities this year to come see you play.
We're trying to. I mean, if the record actually comes out in fall, then we'll be doing some sort of
tour.
We're going to be kicking it off. I would love to do like a small LA show or like a house show or something to just do something special.
Yeah.
For our hometown.
Yeah.
And we want to play this new song. Like we were rehearsing it, we were getting it good, and then
you were ready to go.
Now it doesn't exist. Now there's no opportunities to play it. So it's a huge bummer for us.
If you want them to play your house party, call now. No, I'm just kidding.
You got a good house.
Well, Ian, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and talk in the pod, and definitely check out Militarie Gun. They've got a lot of great tracks that you can stream and some cool videos out there as well. And then honestly, if you want some blast beats and some intense stuff, you can dive into Regional Justice Center. It might not be for everybody who listens to this show, but
if you like extreme music,
I
just describe it as extreme music.
That's a good way. That's a good way to put it. It's extreme music. But just so glad that we connected and got a chance to sit down. And I really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Thank you so much again for joining me. I had a great time talking with Ian. It was a blast to hear about what's been going on in his life. And you know what that is? We are anti-cool guy. That's the new motto here on Waterproof Records. No coolness allowed. All vulnerability, all lovers of music. So thank you again for joining me for another episode this week. It was such a blast to talk to him. And shout out to Pantheon Podcast for hosting this show. They're the biggest music podcast service around, and I'm so grateful to be a part of their network. And make sure you're taking advantage of that distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof link. Save that 30%. But as always, I'm so grateful for you guys. I can't do the show without your support. So make sure you're sharing it with everybody. And if you've never checked out Ian's music, go do that right now. So thanks again for joining me on Waterproof Records. I'll see you next time.
Things are gonna change. I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna
Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records.